Here we go. All right, and go.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm 48 and I'm a project manager, which means I work with teams of people all around the world and I help organise them, a bit like a film producer. Organise them, make sure everyone's lined up doing what they do, and we build stuff. So I manage teams all around the world. That's the short answer.
Great. And do you have any religious or spiritual beliefs, Tony?
I've been raised as a Catholic. I'm a bit distrustful of the institution, but yeah. So I have a kind of a theological bent, but I'm not practicing as such.
Right. Could you explain what your beliefs are?
So I have this this competition in my head between the science and the abstract, and I get the science, but I just wonder what comes first, like what started everything. We talk about the Big Bang. Well, what started that? What led to the nothing being there? So I think there's a curiosity that I have. I don't get the idea of this guy, an old man with a long beard and robes, who sits there and zaps people and gives them horrible illnesses or creates catastrophic events, and then he's nice to some people. I don't get that. But I get the sense of an omnipresence, something that has kicked off a process, I don't know, that's led to evolution and all this good stuff.
How have your beliefs assisted you in coping with death?
It's gosh, that's really interesting. I dread the thought of there being nothing, like that sense of finality and then nothing after. So while I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea of a person, God as a person, I like the appeal of you die and then your spirit or your soul, that kind of unique individualness inside you, goes somewhere to something. I don't know where. I don't know if it's concrete. I'm not really a subscriber of the pearly gates and the fluffy clouds and you sit on the cloud and play the harp. But I don't know, is there something? Maybe 2001 Space Odyssey. Something like that.
Yeah. So you like to believe, or you do believe, that consciousness can be separate from the body?
Definitely. You've said it in one. I think that we have a sense of consciousness which makes us unique, and it helps me see the world the way I do and helps you experience the world you do, the way you do. I get that. That sense of consciousness, I think, is detached from this collection of atoms and squidgy bits and all that sort of stuff. That, to me, why don't cats and dogs have the same sense of consciousness? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Why don't bees or frogs or birds? I think we're unique in that sense, that we have this sense of consciousness, and I don't know where that comes from. I don't know what started, what created that, who had the idea to make humans think like that. I don't know.
Cool. What are your views on assisted suicide?
I'm a big fan. I feel like I'm 48. I have the first inklings of mortality just scratching around in the back of the head, and I think, as Barry Humphries once said, the worms that will eat my corpse have just hatched from their eggs somewhere. I feel I'm just starting to think, 40, 50 years to go. When I go, I want to go on my own terms. God damn it, this is me. I don't want the state, or I don't want do-gooders, or I don't want anyone to tell me what to do. I want the decision to be made by myself, and I want to have the counsel of my loved ones, and I want us to be able to have a discussion, and then I want to make my own choice. I'm really adamant about that.
Great, yeah. Do you feel that assisted suicide is a reasonable option for someone who's experiencing mental and emotional pain?
This is the tricky bit. And I think about this more because of maturity and life experience and all that sort of stuff. Emotional pain and mental illness are horrible, horrible things, and we all deal with them in some way. And I know we have too many people committing suicide and self-harming and what's this. The baggage that people carry, like the weight is like crushing sometimes. I get that. should we be helping those people kill themselves? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced about that. I think that we as a society can do a better job of looking after and nurturing people who need emotional help, but chronic physical pain is a different thing to me. When my body breaks down and my body stops working, and I have no physical quality of life, to me that's a point at which I should be able to take my own life. But if I'm feeling wretched and worn down and I feel like I'm alone, to me that's a different type of pain. And I think we as a moral society, as an ethical society, we should do a better job of nurturing people in that state. I don't think we should help them suicide. That's a tough question.
Yeah. How do you feel society as a whole approaches the topic of death?
I think we live in a state of, I don't know, denial. And I wonder if it's because, we're this advanced Western society with all the technology and whatever that we can... So I'm thinking this through in my head. We have all this technology, we have social media, we have smartphones and whatever, so we can get dazzled by all the bright lights over here and here and here. And those difficult conversations we can almost put aside somehow. And death is a big issue. We can't get away from it, but I wonder with all the toys and so on that we've conditioned ourselves not to think about it because there's something better or brighter or here that's going to make life a bit more interesting, or there's Instagram over here, or there's whatever that may be. I think that's what we practice. I wonder how societies, I'm not experienced enough, but I wonder how societies in other parts of the world, say Bhutan or Nepal, those societies where they're not so materialistic, I wonder how they approach death and whether they have a different death discussion to what we do in the West. I suspect they probably do.
Is there anything that you feel that you personally need to achieve in life in order to die happy?
Oh, God. If I had a wish, well, I do have a wish. My wish is to be remembered. Well, I think what frightens me more than anything is the idea of having one of those decrepit old abandoned gravestones at Preston Cemetery or wherever that no one goes to and that's fallen into disrepair. To me, the idea of being forgotten is horrible. I want to be immortal, not in a physical sense, but I want my ideas or my legacy to be remembered after I'm gone. So whether that's in creative arts or whether I have books or whether my family remember me, and I want that to be carried on. So that's my wish, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I answered the question.
Yeah, you did, yeah. So is there anything that you feel that all people should aspire towards before they die?
When you started asking that question, I had a thought, and in the 5 seconds there that you spoke, my thoughts kind of changed around.
Do you mean to the previous question or
no,
to this
just
question?
This question.
Okay, yeah.
I felt like I had ideas, but when you think them through, it changed. I think people should... My rule for a healthy life would be for people to come to terms with their mortality and then use that as the trigger to try and, I don't know, be a good person, like leave a good legacy. And that comes back to my point about not wanting to be forgotten. I want to leave a legacy, and I would hope my advice to people would be think about the legacy you want to live, because you will die, because it's finite and it's set in stone, it's going to happen. But how are you going to be remembered once you're gone? Because you're only here once, and I feel like your loved ones or your friends or what have you, how are they going to remember you? And how is the world going to think of what you did and your little tiny, infinitesimally small spark of time that you were here? How are people going to remember that? I would say to people, think about that. Don't worry about what material possessions you have or whatever, but think about the legacy that you leave.
Have you personally ever had a near-death experience?
No. I've seen people die, but no, I haven't. I haven't had the experience or a near-death experience, or I haven't come close. I've been remarkably healthy.
Well, that sort of goes into the next question. Have you ever known anybody that has died?
Yes. Yes. So my stepfather died a horrible, gruesome death of brain cancer. Brain cancer is an insidious, awful, awful illness, and that was a profound experience to watch. A strong, proud man decline to just a shell. So that was a really confronting period. And then my father-in-law, ex-father-in-law now, died of a heart attack. That was quite sudden, and his period of illness was quite contracted. The moment when he died was quite confronting. To see him have a heart attack and his go purple was really confronting. But it built up, and there was a climax, and then he kind of relaxed. And he was unconscious the whole time, so that was an experience of itself. My stepfather's decline was a catastrophic diagnosis, and then a decline over about 10 months into it, almost like an infant state, wearing a nappy and being fed and all that sort of stuff. So as his brain was eaten away by this fucking illness, you could see the functions disappearing and his lucidity going and memory going. It's just dreadful. I think it's dreadful not just for him, but for the people around him. And the father-in-law was equally dreadful for people around him in a much more compacted, like a 1 week time frame. 1 week from when he fell ill and went to hospital, and then he was gone. But his stepfather was kind of 10 months of decay. That's a case for assisted suicide, to me.
So what for you would be the ideal way to die?
I thought about this over the years, not in a I want to do it sort of a way, but you're always curious about these sort of things. I'd like to go to sleep and just not wake up. And you can't choose it. I have fears about how I don't want to die. I don't want to be in a car crash. I don't want to be burnt. I don't want to be buried alive. There's all sorts of horrible ways. How do I want to die? I just want to go to sleep. Or I want to live to a ripe old age, and I want to reach a point where I know what's coming and I say goodbye to my loved ones, and we hang out and we have conversation and we drink wine and we talk about stuff, and then I just go to sleep. To me, that would be a nice sense of closure and finality.
So what would you like to happen to your body after you die?
Well, I'm an organ donor. Not yet, but I'm registered. I have this idea that when I go, my body is of no consequence to me whatsoever. And I want my organs to be used for the greater good. And I don't want people to have to come to my gravesite and weed it or put flowers there or cry over it. I just want my body to be disposed of, and I want people to think of me in a nice way wherever they are. I don't want a place where they have to go to pay homage.
So you sort of touched on it a little bit before, but I'd like to sort of go over it a little bit again. What do you think happens after you die?
I don't know. You hear all sorts of different stories, and that's all I'm informed by is what you read or hear people talk about. Kerry Packer said he's been over there, mate, and there's fucking nothing there. Like he said that when he had his near-death experience. And then you have other people talk about seeing themselves rise above their body or what have you. I don't know. I don't know what happens immediately after. I'd like to think that this consciousness detaches and departs from the body, and you can see the physical body on the bed or wherever it may be. Where does that go? I don't know. Does it go up that Jacob's ladder up to the clouds? I'm not sure. I don't have an answer, but I get the sense of the consciousness detaching from the physical self and separating. But I don't know what happens after that.
Are you afraid to die?
At the moment, I am. I'm terrified because I haven't left the legacy yet, and I've got too many loose ends. I dread dying right now. I'd be miserable, and I'd fight it, and I'd rage against it, and I'd push and shove as hard as I could. But give me another 50 years, and I'll be sick of it all,
Right.
and I'll be ready to go. But no, not at the moment. I haven't done what I want to do.
So that's the main part that terrifies you, not having yet left a legacy.
Mm.
What about the pain part of dying? Does that scare you?
No, not particularly. If I can control the pain insofar as if I know it's coming and I know obviously it's finite, then I'm happy to deal with that and just suck it up. But the long lingering painful deterioration where I have no control and no rights to control my own body, that would be horrid in terms of pain. I want to be able to manage my own pain in my own way. Yeah.
Are you scared at all about what is potentially waiting for you in an afterlife, if anything?
No. No, I think it's only, I don't know, someone will prove me wrong, but I think it's only Catholics that have this thing about the fiery pits of hell. I'm not sure that other religions or theological streams think about afterlife. I don't know. I'd like to think, no, I've been a bit of an arse, but I'd like to think I could be a decent enough fellow for the rest of my time that I'd be spared the pit of fire, if there is such a thing, which I doubt. But no, I'm not afraid of whatever may come.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure.